Hey, how's it going? So in here, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do an epoxy countertop from nothing to pro. This is a course that I used to sell, literally, that made me money in 2020 during the COVID times. And now I'm giving it to the internet for free. You guys can literally learn this and start your epoxy business. So just pay attention to it. It will teach you exactly step by step what you need. Again, this is something that I used to sell, but now I'm giving it to you for free because we've actually made new improvements that we're flushing out. So we want you to make some money, and then we'll jump into the more serious things later. So watch this course, learn from it, and let's jump right into it. All right, guys. So we're gonna start the course. I'm just gonna go ahead and go through my daily things of what I get before I do a project. Now, of course, we're looking at countertops today, so that's what we're gonna do. The very first thing is, I'm here in the car, and I'm at Home Depot. My purpose here is to kind of show you exactly all the things that you can literally get your hands on right now to start, a countertop or be able to design a countertop. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And it's a little bit cold where I am, guys, so that's why I have this on. And I'm messy because just so that you know, when you're designing, epoxy gets very messy. So you don't want to wear any of your nice stuff. You kind of want to wear, it's almost like painting, right? It's almost like painting. So you want to go ahead and you want to wear things that you don't mind that will get dirty and get sticky, as epoxy does get sticky. All right, so with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get this started. I'm literally here at Home Depot, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what you can buy in Home Depot. All right, since it's Corona times, you got to mask up, guys. Let's go. All right, so guys, I wanted to make sure that you knew that everything you needed to do a table, a countertop, most of your materials you can get at Home Depot. All right, most of them are actually in the painting aisle, and that's where we're gonna go. So the first thing that we're gonna grab is a brush. Okay, and the brush is important because the brush is literally how epoxy is like art. So you could paint your designs with the brush. All right, so that's what we're gonna grab. We're gonna grab this brush right here. You're looking at it as $10.48. All right, and then the next thing that we are going to get is pretty much the plastic drop cover. Now, this is what you're going to use to protect whatever your design is on. All right, when the epoxy hits the plastic, it doesn't seep through the plastic, so it protects whatever is on. So you definitely need this to protect whatever surface that you're going to be using the epoxy on. Okay, so that's what we're gonna grab for this one. All right, so the next is spray paints. So the spray paint that I like to use, I always like to use either metallic spray paints or just regular spray paint. It doesn't really matter based on what color you want, and these are what you use for your highlights. Okay, Rust-Oleum 2X is really good for solid colors, and since we're going for more of a marble feel, we're just gonna use this Rust-Oleum right here, 2X. Usually it's only $3.98, but you get a lot of pink for this. All right, now the next thing is acetone. Acetone is how we wipe off materials that we use, and it also is good for the epoxy. So if like epoxy starts sticking to something, you can use acetone to wipe it off, whatever it's on. So it's a very good for cleaning. It's good for cleaning dust off the tables as well. All right. And then we're gonna get some tape. Okay, now we're gonna need the tape because when we get the plastics, we're gonna pretty much put the tape on first, then we're gonna use the plastic to cover everything else. And of course, we're gonna have to tape it together. All right, so this is how you tape your work, you tape your floor, you protect whatever you're working on by getting a painter's tape. That way it doesn't rip. All right, now I know this is Scotch here, but it's actually painter's tape that I got. And the good paint to get is you're gonna get a painter's tape, which is also blue, and then you're also gonna get a frog tape right here as well. So you're gonna get a frog tape as well, which is really good because frog tape is like a painter's tape, but it's really better. It's actually like just a much better version of a painter's tape. All right. So that's what we're gonna get. And then the last thing is we're gonna get some painting sticks. Now this is what we're gonna use for mixing our material, and literally Home Depot gives it away for free at the painting aisle. So you can just go there and just grab it from the painting aisle, and then you can just mix, because this is what you're gonna be using to mix your epoxy and mix your colors in the part A of the epoxy. Okay, and of course you're gonna need some mixing buckets, which is also in the painting aisle. Now, if you have a wooden surface, I recommend getting a sample kit as your base primer, so you can paint whatever surface you want, any colors. Bare painted primer sample is only $4, but this helps you kind of cover your stuff.
Just got back.
Bought everything that we needed, and you guys seen. And now we're about to head to the site to go ahead and design this white and gray marble countertop. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys exactly step by step how to do
that in the next video. So let's go to the next one.
All right, guys, so before we get started, I kind of wanted to go through a checklist, and this is just to help you gather all the materials you need before you even start your next project. Now, I know you're excited. I know you want to get started with the project. So I'm like, okay, you have a checklist, and literally you could go down the list and check mark it whenever you want. Okay, so the checklist begins. Let me draw these lines here, and we're gonna have tools, and then we're gonna have materials. So the first thing you need is a palm sander. And the purpose of a palm sander is to sand whatever it's on. You're gonna see it in the videos coming up, exactly what a palm sander does. Now, you could get one on Amazon, or you could get one from Home Depot. All right, it's anywhere between $40 to $50, $60. It doesn't matter which palm sander. It's not like you need the best palm sander. They all work the same. So I haven't really had any issues. I just buy whichever one I have. All right, so I have a palm sander. You're going to need a heat gun as well. Okay, so I bought my heat gun from Home Depot, but again, you could buy a heat gun on Amazon. All right, so the purpose of the heat gun is, one, to help move the epoxy around. So epoxy isn't like paint. When heat hits epoxy, it liquefies it, so it makes it a little bit more like water. So you're definitely going to need a heat gun, so that if it's like cold in a room, you can use a heat gun to kind of move the epoxy around, make it easier for you to be able to, design. All right, it makes it like water. So you definitely need a heat gun for decoration purposes, to make designs. You're gonna need a trowel. The purpose of a trowel is to pretty much make sure that the epoxy can be troweled, move everywhere on your project board, so it makes it easier for you to spread the epoxy out before you start designing. So a trowel is very good, or a squeegee. Okay. All right, so we have that. Now you're gonna need acetone. Acetone is used to clean, so you can use acetone to clean the work. Now you're gonna need painter's tape. Of course, painter's tape will help you seal whatever your project is on. So if you're doing a countertop, you're gonna have to seal it so that the epoxy doesn't touch the cabinets or anything. So you're gonna need the painter's tape. You're gonna need brushes, because brushes, of course, is how you brush and you make your design. You're gonna need a plastic paper drop. Now this helps cover whatever the epoxy is on. Okay, so you're gonna need that. You're gonna need a mixing bucket. Now usually in Home Depot they have mixing buckets that let you know exactly what the ratios are. So for example, with epoxy, some epoxies are 1-to-1 and others are 2-to-1. So that means that one level of part A, one level of part B, and I have a video explaining exactly how that works. So you'll see that in the video. All right. You're going to need a misting stick, so you're going to need a stick to be able to mix your stuff. You could get a drill or just a regular misting stick. Of course, you're going to need paint. Now, the reason why I'm saying you're going to need paint is, let's say that you take just a regular wood. If you're just taking a regular wood, you can literally paint it whatever color you want as a base before you start putting designs on there. So if you want it to be black, white, purple, green, whatever, you could paint it, make it that. So you're going to need paint. Now, Bondo is important. You use Bondo if you have cracks in whatever. Okay, so what Bondo is Bondo is a sealer, and you can get it from Home Depot. And Bondo seals over anything. So if you have cracks or chips or anything like that, you can use Bondo to seal the gap, so that it can be an even platform, because epoxy is self-leveling, so it likes to be on a flat surface. So if you have any divots, cracks, or anything like that, Bondo helps with that. Okay, of course you need gloves. You're gonna need a mask as well to cover your face. You're gonna need grit paper or sandpaper, and the whole point of the grit paper or sandpaper is to use for your palm sander. Okay, so you're gonna use that for your palm sander. Now let's say that you have a surface, right? So this is your surface right here. Let's say that this is the countertop, and this is the top of the countertop, and there's a crack in between right here. What a Bondo does is the Bondo can help seal this, so when the epoxy is on this level, it doesn't penetrate and go through, because any gaps in epoxy you can see it. So if you want a smooth finish, that's pretty much what the epoxy is. And again, this is like on a flat surface. So let's say this is a flat surface and you have a gap, that's what it does. All right guys, now I made a sheet for you here that you can actually download with the checklist, and you can just go down on the checklist and make sure you have everything before you start your project. See you guys in the next video. So this is going to be explaining to you how to go ahead and do a countertop design. This is probably the look that we're going for. With this is going to be a white with a silver, a white with a gray highlight, and it's going to be a marble design. So right now, most of the steps has already been done, but let's just say you were starting from scratch. What happens with a countertop is, a lot of people don't know, but you can actually just use regular MDF. What is this right here from Home Depot? You could buy one. So this right here, all you would need to do is, if you have an MDF, to get the MDF to have a white background, you could literally just use a bare paint and primer. All right, now the reason why you want to use a bare paint and primer from Home Depot is because the paint has a primer in it. And what the purpose of a primer does is it seals the wood. So it seals the wood from leaking, from having moisture come out, from actually bubbling your epoxy design. So this already has that design, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to put the primer on here and literally have it trapped in the epoxy. Okay, so right this very moment, the very first step we're going to do is we're going to clean this, then we're going to sand it. And the reason why we're going to sand it is because we want to give it a mechanical bond. This mechanical bond is what is going to help the epoxy stick onto the countertop. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that, but before we do that, we're going to have to protect the work. You guys can see that we already have a little bit of taping, but I'm going to go ahead and actually show you guys the correct way to tape around a table or a countertop so that you do not have any leaks, because epoxy is liquid. So it's liquid that kind of seeps through. It acts like water, and if you don't seal the work that you're doing, you're going to be in a lot of mess. All right, especially if you have a nice house, you don't want it to get everywhere. All right, so we're going to jump into it, and I'm going to show you guys how to go ahead and take this off right.
Yep.
All right. So as you guys were following me, we went to Home Depot and we actually bought a multi-painter's tape. Now the reason why you want a painter's tape, which is this blue one, is because it's easier to rip off. And whatever the painter's tape is on, it protects the paint. Now, if you were to get like a duct tape, or if you were to get any other tape, if you were to try to take the paint, it can remove the paint. So you don't want to affect the paint at all. You want to protect your work, but you don't want it to, damage your work. So it's a good thing to just get a painter's tape, because a painter's tape will make sure that you're protecting the paint off the wall, but you're also protecting your work. All right. You guys saw me literally buy one of these in the Home Depot video.
All right. So we took out the tape. Now we need our 2 mil plastic drop cloth, and the whole purpose of the drop cloth is to catch the epoxy from hitting the surfaces, whether it's your cabinet, whether it's your floor. Okay, so as you can see here, what I usually like to do is I like to roll it all the way till the length of the surface that I'm working on. Then of course I push it back, then I cut it. Now this makes sure that it's it's the same length. No crazy rulers or anything to just measure it. So I start by protecting the floor here, so that you guys can see, and you guys will definitely want to do that too when you're protecting your work. You want to go ahead and literally put it over the floor first. So once you have it over the floor, then we'll come back around, and then we're going to be putting it literally on the sides as well. Okay, so right now, as you can see, I'm just stretching it, making sure that it's big enough. Then of course I put it literally on the bottom of my workspace. So whatever space that you're creating your design, if you're doing it in a garage, if you're doing it in a kitchen, you want to make sure that you're protecting it, because epoxy it's a glue. Literally, epoxy is an adhesive, and whatever it gets on, it sticks to it. So definitely tape. I tape the floors, and now I'm showing you guys how to tape the corners. Now the most important thing about taping is you want to apply the tape first before you put the the plastic drop. Okay, so it's very important to go around all the edges and literally tape off everything first. Here, now this takes some time, so we speeded it where I'm speeding it up here, but you can see here I'm taping everything off first. I'm putting the first layer of tape around to protect all the surfaces. Then I come back to put the plastic drop over where I've taped. This makes it very easy for you to secure the barriers, because the tape is what is going on, and then the plastic mill drop is what we're going to attach to the tape. All right, so you're protecting the surface, and that's why it's very important to use a painter's tape, because it makes it very easy for us to rip it off the walls and not have any issues. Okay, so you want to make sure that you put the tapes on first, and once you put on the tape, then you apply the plastic mill. Okay, so you see here you're gonna have little small crevices if you're doing countertops, and you want to make sure that the tape goes on first to all those corners first, and make sure that you apply pressure so that the tape is secure. It's very important. If the tape is not secure, the epoxy will seep into the platform. And you guys can see here I taped all the crevices first, and then as I'm taping over the crevice, you see here I'm sealing everything, and then I'm going to come back around and then put the plastic drop just like that. You guys see that? And then now the whole purpose in using the frog tape is to seal the painter's tape to the frog tape with the plastic mill. All right, and that's literally how you protect your work. You want to make sure that you are sealing everything where there's no gaps in between. It's very important, because if the epoxy seeps through that, you're gonna have a problem. All right, guys, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, now that we've wrapped everything, we have to clean the countertops. So we have to use acetone to clean the surface, and it's very important that we use the acetone, because the acetone is going to seep into the countertop, and it's going to literally get every single dust out. Okay, it bunches the dust up, and it makes it so that it's easy to come out. So as you can see here, you see all the dust on the rag here, and that's why we got a rag. We add the acetone on the rag, and we're literally wiping off and cleaning the surface. It's very important that you clean the surface before you start working. Okay, so you see here I'm just going ahead and I'm just wiping everything off and then cleaning the surface to make sure that it's very clean. We've gotten all the dust off. Now we're going to go ahead and sand it with the 80 grit sand pad. Now the whole point of this is to create a mechanical bond. Okay, so with the 80 grit, we're literally going to sand it in a circular motion, because the orbital sander is already going circle, and we're just, you know, rolling it in the corners to go ahead and sand it. So it's always good to sand in circles, as you can see how I'm doing that, and sanding that surface. Okay, so now I've sanded it, and now we're also going to re-clean it after we've sanded again. And that's what I'm doing right here, because when I sanded it created dust. Now of course I've sanded the whole thing, but it created dust, and we're gonna clean it one more time before we apply the epoxy.
Alright guys, so we're about to get started, but before we get started, I kind of wanted to just explain the nuances of epoxy and how to apply it, and pretty much the principle behind applying it. Alright, so let me just tell you the very first, pretty much the 4 things you have to do to get a great looking marble looking epoxy top. All right, and this is like the theory side. I mean, in the other videos you guys are going to see exactly how it's done. So let me go ahead and do this here. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to buy materials. Okay, so you guys are going to see in the videos exactly what materials I'm getting, so that you guys can also use those same materials as well. All right, then we're going to prep up the work. Now any project that you do, you have to prep it up. So when it comes to epoxy, you have to not only have a mechanical bond, but you also have to have a primer on the project so that everything works together, which I'm also going to show you exactly how to do that. Then we're going to apply the base coat. Now the base coat also has its own type of design to it, which you will see in the video as well. But the whole purpose of this base coat is to go on whatever we're working on, and it could be literally like the base color or whatever. And then the last thing, of course, that is on here, which is not showing, is going to be the design. Okay, so it's going to be the design code that we're going to talk about. All right, so these are the 4 things that you literally pay attention to when you start doing epoxy. All right, so I'm about to also show you exactly what the prepping means, because I think that's the most important thing. So let's jump right into it. All right, so we're going to go over the importance of sanding. All right, so let's say you have a surface, and literally in the surface you're going to have a palm sander. Okay, so this is, of course, my palm sander that I drew here. So you have a palm sander on the surface. Now what happens is when you apply the palm sander to the surface, you create scuffs on the surface. And each hole or each place in these scuffs here is what the epoxy is going to bite to. All right, because if it's a flat surface, the epoxy can easily be ripped off or wiped off. All right. So you want it to kind of, because epoxy is it's an adhesive, it's like glue. All right, so when you scuff it with the palm sander, it goes into these divots, which makes it hard for you to peel the epoxy off. Okay, now of course you're gonna have to tape the things that you work around too, and it's very important when you're taping. So let's say that you have a countertop. All right, you're going to tape literally the bottom of the countertop. Okay, excuse the drawing, and pretty much this is how it would look like. Okay, so literally where the top of the counter is here, and this is where your cabinets is, you're going to literally use regular tape on the bottom first, and then what you're going to do is you're going to apply the plastic bag over with the frog tape. So you're going to tape the plastic bag over the actual tape that you have here. Okay, and it's very important you do it that way, because if you do not protect this layer, the epoxy is going to get on all your cabinets, and that's not fun, because it's literally glue on your cabinets, which means that if you want to pull it off, you're going to have to damage the cabinets to be able to rip it off. All right, so this is why prepping is so important. You have to be able to prep in order for the epoxy to even come and stick. So all of these holes right here, when the epoxy, let me draw my water here. When the epoxy, this is my bucket, by the way. So when I'm drawing the epoxy, when the epoxy hits this, right, let's say it goes on right here, and it's self-leveling, so it levels itself on the top, and it's flat on the top. Because of these divots here, it's hard for anything to damage the epoxy, or it's hard for the epoxy to be pulled off. This is why sanding is so important. And of course, when you're taping, and let's say you have a cabinet, and this is the lip of your counter, so this is the cabinet. You want to tape first, so you want to literally put tape, then you go ahead and you put the plastic bag over it, so that when the epoxy is dripping from the top, it doesn't hit your cabinet, and it protects it. Okay, now I have made these videos. I just wanted to go ahead and kind of show you guys the science behind it before you actually watch the video. So let's jump right into it, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what we're about to do with this project, and pretty much how it comes out and turns out.
Time for the fun stuff. All right, so we have our brushes, we have our epoxy, and then we have our measuring cup here, and we're gonna jump right into it here. Now the very first thing is we're gonna be using a solid white pigment, and the reason why we're using solid colors in the beginning, especially as a base, is because it has a very high density. Okay, now of course the epoxy that we're using is also 1:1, so that's pretty much means that you pour 1 part A and 1 part B in the same ratio. We're going ahead and we're adding the solid colors. The solid color makes it so that it's not translucent. All right, it makes sure that your base is solid. So that's why you would like to use a solid color, because anytime you use a solid color, it gives you that strong base color, which is hard to see in between. Okay, so what we do, and you always have to do this, is whenever you add in colors to your epoxy, you always have to mix the color with the part A for at least 1 minute. Okay, so after we've mixed the colors, we're now gonna add our part B, which is the activator. Okay, now this activates the color, this activates the epoxy, and it makes the epoxy starts the curing time. Okay, so this is why it's important to mix your colors before you add the part B, so that you can have more working time. Okay, you want to have enough working time to work you know, to work with the epoxy, to make sure that the epoxy is, you know, covering whatever you want to put it on, and to be able to add your designs. So you need as much working time as possible, and you don't want, you know, a minute of your working time to go with you just mixing colors. All right, so you can see this is 1-to-1. We had poured it at 1.5 liters, so that was the part A, and then we literally just poured the part B at 2 and another 1.5, which made it 2. Well, to be honest, it made it 3 liters here. So now you have 3 liters of epoxy in that bucket that we're doing, and now we're mixing it for 2 minutes. All right, we're mixing this for 2 minutes, and literally that means that we're getting the colors, we're getting the part A and the part B to be mixed out very, very well. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pour it out, and then this is a poor man's trowel. You can literally buy a trowel from Home Depot, but if you don't have a trowel and you still need to spread the epoxy, you can use the ruler just like that. And the whole goal is to get the base color all over your working piece. Okay, you're not necessarily trying to get it even or anything. You just wanted to kind of get it on everything, because you want the epoxy to literally kind of cover the whole board. And I'll tell you exactly why that's important in a second. And actually you're gonna see why it's important, but you can see here that I'm getting it everywhere on the board. Okay, so my whole goal right here is to just spread it out so that it's touched everywhere on the board. Now I will say that the room was cold. All right, so that's also going to play a part into why I did what I did later on in this video, and you will see it. But you see here that I'm just literally getting the epoxy everywhere. Okay, now you could think about epoxy like water. Okay, so once I'm able to get the epoxy literally on all the surfaces, it makes it easy for me to move around the surface, design it, and also, you know, pretty much add any type of things to it. So here I'm making sure that literally I'm covering the whole board with the epoxy. Now you can see that the brush sometimes is harder to move in certain spots, and it's easier to move in others, because the easier spots have epoxy on it. So you see how easy I can literally brush over the easy spots because it has the epoxy. This is why you want to spread the epoxy all over the board, okay? So that makes it easier for you to be able to move, for you to create designs and things like that. All right, so I have went ahead and I've added the first layer. All right, so this is the solid base. Now that I've added the solid base, now this is what I'm doing here. I'm applying the heat because the house, of course, is a construction house, so the house was cold, and with epoxy, when it's cold, it doesn't move freely. So I'm adding the heat so that it makes the epoxy you know, almost like water. It makes it very easy, it makes it easy to move, and that's why I'm applying the heat, so that again I can cover the whole platform with epoxy, you know, in the easiest way possible. So when you apply heat to epoxy, it makes it very easy to move. All right, so as you guys see here, I'm literally getting the base everywhere on this board. All right, so that's literally, it was a pure white base, and now we've been able to get that base all over, and you can already start to see a little bit of the glare coming in. Okay, so here literally doing the same thing, getting that all over the back. You see here I'm getting all the corners, because I want to make sure that this complete piece has epoxy covering the whole thing. That way when I come back with my second and third layer to design, it's easier for me to design, and it's also easier for me to create that exotic look. All right, so there goes the first one. Now I want you guys to see what also the heat does. Heat bursts bubbles in the epoxy. So you see here I put some heat on the bubbles, and it made it smooth out, and again I was able to cover it. So whenever you having bubbles on your epoxy, you want to apply heat, because heat bursts the bubbles. It makes the epoxy easy. It literally makes the epoxy liquefy some more, so that it's easier to move around. All right, now that we have the base, we're gonna start adding our white metallic. Now the white metallic is different from the solid that we use, because it gives it that dimension, that nice 3D look. Okay, so we're still doing 1-to-1, and again we're still gonna mix it up for 1 minute before we add our part B, because again, remember guys, never mix a color with part B, because you want to be able to mix first, then you start your curing process. So literally I could leave this bucket here forever and it's nothing would happen. It's not gonna cure, it's not gonna get hard, right? But when I add the part A to it, I mean the part B to it, it's gonna start curing. So now look at this. You see the metallic white definitely looks different from the base, right? It has that 3D look, it looks better. So what I do now is I brush it into the base. And this is why you want to get the epoxy everywhere, because when you have the epoxy everywhere and you start brushing the second layer to it, it starts to give it that 3D look. And this is the luxe touch. All right, this is exactly how I design my countertops. I give it that 3 layers for a reason. Okay, so now you see that I'm brushing literally it in. It's gonna flow smoothly because I already have epoxy everywhere. So it's literally gonna smooth out and going. So my goal again is to brush it in all the spots. Now you could be creative here. You could choose where you put it. You could choose how you get it. But my goal is to create a white marble looking countertop. So I'm going to go ahead and literally get this metallic white all over the platform. All right, so that's literally what I'm doing here. I'm literally just getting the metallic all over. You see the 3D dimensions with it, and that's what the metallic does. It looks different from the base. It's not as solid, and it's very translucent, right? So that means that you can literally see through it. That's why you get these effects, okay? Because you can see through it, that's why it gives you these these effects. And you see with the way I'm brushing it in, they're leaving marks in there. All right, and all of this adds to the look, it adds to the definition, it adds to how good the countertop will come out. So you can see here that I'm literally brushing it all in the I'm brushing it all into the actual countertop here. All right, so my goal here is to get this all around the countertop, and then I'm going to start coming in with my accent colors. All right, so with the pure white versus with the pure white solid base plus the metallic white base, you start to get a 3D look. So even if I was to leave this countertop like this, you'll still be able to see the 3D dimensions, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and add my highlights. Now this is the gray spray paint that we picked up from Home Depot in the beginning of the video, and my goal is to literally dab a small piece into the white solid. So that is the white solid. That's not the white metallic, that's the white solid. All right, so I'm dabbing the spray into it, and guess what I'm going to do? Because I want to just gently put a marble veins, I'm going to slowly brush that in. You see that? That's nothing, right? It's not a lot of gray on it, because I want to make this as light as possible. All right, that's going to create that natural countertop, that natural marble look, because marble usually doesn't have a lot of veins in there. It doesn't have a lot of strong veins in there. So I'm brushing it in, making it as super light as possible. And it looks a little bit messed up right now, guys, but remember, once we add heat to it, because heat moves the epoxy, it's literally going to change the design. And that's what makes epoxy so unique, is there's always a different design to be made, because the liquid of epoxy always moves by itself, right? So I'm getting the gray in all these spots here. You can see here I'm taking my time, making sure that I'm brushing it in, not doing anything too crazy with it, but literally just brushing it in here with the white solid. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to be adding the heat to this. Okay, so once I brush all this in, you see there's I have it all in here. Now look, I'm adding the heat. The purpose of this heat is to move the paint around. Okay, so I'm moving the paint that I just painted, and it's also going to make the edges blend in. You could think about like a blemish. All right, so I'm hiding the blemishes by adding the heat, because it's going to help all the epoxy liquefy and kind of meld better. Okay, it's going to make all the epoxies kind of join together, and give it that natural look. All right, so that's why I'm using the heat on it right now, and I'm literally using the heat on everywhere that I brushed. All right, so you guys can see literally, as you see here, this everywhere that I brushed, and literally just running it right through it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do all of that right now, and you guys see I'm taking my time and literally using the heat to apply on these particular zones to make it look as natural as possible. Also remember, now that the heat is on these places, it makes the epoxy all around the place kind of kind of easy to move around. And with me brushing right now, I'm literally mixing the metallic with the solid base plus the design. Now also kind of look here, you see that even between the white base there's more of a 3D thing happening because I brushed it in. And this is the complete work, guys. You guys can see exactly how it turned out. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And literally that's the same process, guys, to literally get from point A to point B to point C to point Z, creating your marble looking top. And you see how this blended in, mixed it in? Amazing. All right, guys, welcome. It looks like you've taken the first step to an amazing career. And I'm saying amazing career because not only are you going to learn how to make amazing countertops, exactly how I do it, but also this is a skill that once you learn it, you'll be able to take it into the real world. At the end of your training, I'm going to give you an opportunity because I only reward people who take action. I'm going to give some of you guys that joined this training an opportunity to learn from me one-on-one. One-on-one is almost going to be like a mentorship where I'm going to teach you exactly how I market, how I sell, and how you can make anywhere from 10, 20, 15, or $25,000 every single month. Coming in every month doing exactly what I do full time. I'm going to give you guys literally the blueprint to my business at the end. Of course, that is a mentorship program that we will talk about at the end. But I just wanted you guys to, know what you're about to get into and how it could change your life. Now, the second thing I want to say is this video was created at a client's establishment. There's a client that was selling a house, and they had already got another company to come do their countertops, but they were not happy with. So they decided to use Lux Designs, of course, which is me. And I came in and let's say I hooked it up, right? But my job here is in me hooking it up, you guys get to see step by step exactly how I did it, how I designed it. Now, the only thing I will tell you is the background looks like it has construction. Again, it was a house that was being flipped. So that's why it looks like the background has a lot of constructions and things happening like that. But nevertheless, all the lessons are in there, all the training is in there, and all the materials that you need to get to the next level is in there. So I'm happy that you're on board, and let's get started by jumping into the first video and go over everything that we're going to talk about. All right, guys, see you on the other side. All right, so you're done with the course. What is next? Well, what is next is I'm sure you really want to learn how to do a countertop. So you've probably been doing a countertop while you were watching, or now you're about to whip out the pen, paper, and whatever and start designing. I'm excited for you. This is a great skill that you've learned. Now, I'm going to dive into a little bit about how you can become a one-on-one student with me with my mentorship program. Now, my mentorship program is an 8-week program. And in this 8 weeks, the goal of this program is one, to teach you exactly everything that I've done, whether it's countertops on floors, whether it's countertops design, whether it's epoxy on the website. Pretty much my goal is to teach you how you can leverage epoxy on and offline all the time. Then also how to, one, market it, and two, how to sell it. All right, so selling is how you can sell countertops to other people. It's how you can sell floors to other people offline. And I'm going to teach you exactly, if you wanted to just have an e-commerce store and have some designs on there and get it selling, we could dive into exactly Google ads, Facebook ads, things like that, so that you can leverage that in as well. Okay, so that's what this mentorship program is all about. It's an 8-week program because there's a lot of information that you have to learn. Now, I will be 100% honest with you. Now, I'm not taking a lot of students because even though it's one-on-one, I want to make sure that a lot of people that are involved are getting the best service possible. So it's not going to be just everybody jumping in and you guys are going to get it. There is an application process that you have to go through, and I'll see if you're qualified for it. Second, it is not easy and it's not cheap. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It is something that will change your life. As I said, with this knowledge, you'll be able to average anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000 every single month. And I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly that. Okay, so you guys see, these are some of the contracts that I'm making over time with this business.
And you can learn exactly how to do that. So what does that mean? Once you pay for this mentorship, you literally, your first, second, or third contract will break even, and for the rest of your life, you have a new skill that's going to be generating you thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay, so I really want the people that are involved to be very, very serious. It's not for everyone. I'm looking for somebody who is hungry, somebody who wants to change their life, somebody who wants to make anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 a month and change their lifestyle, but also somebody that has the passion to not only carry this information but to also change other people's lives. So if that is you, go ahead and apply. There's a link below. Click that application list. You're going to literally apply, and then I'll get on the phone with you and see if you'll be a good fit to be a part of the Lax family and learn exactly the blueprint to owning your own epoxy business. All right, guys. See you guys. Have a great day.